Riffical Records presents the East-West Vinyl Analysis with your hosts Mark Anthony Kay and Ken Keenan. Greetings, friends, and welcome to the East-West Vinyl Analysis episode number 4. It is December 21st, 2017. We are a mere 4 days away from Christmas. I know we were all excited, and we're probably exhausted from shopping and looking for various things for loved ones. So what better time to sit down and let's talk about vinyl records. Today, I'm joined again by my good friend, Mr. Ken Keenan, all the way on the west coast of California. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very good over here on my coast. How are you doing in Canada?
We're actually expecting a major snow downfall. We had a weather warning last night on the news saying that starting this evening, we'll be getting a big snowfall, which is ironic because they said that we were going to have a non-white Christmas this year, and it looks like they were incorrect. So I'm kind of looking forward to it and kind of not. But In any case, let's not talk about the snow. Let's talk about vinyl. Right. And on today's episode, we're going to do something a bit different. Usually we talk about 3 records that we think everyone should have in their collection, and they're usually 3 random ones. Today, for your Yuletide amusement, we are going to be talking about 3 records from one artist that we enjoy and that we feel that maybe would be important to collect in your collection as well. So, I believe last time I went first, was it? Or was it you who went first?
You know, I don't remember.
So how do you want to do this? You want to go first or you want me to go first?
I can go first. Then you can end the show with a bang that way.
Okay.
So,
all right.
All right. So for my artist, where I'm going to show 3 albums, and it was kind of hard. I was picking, cause usually you stick more of the harder rock and stuff, but I went for more straight ahead, or not rock, but pop rock, I guess you could call it. And my artist is Billy Joel. And I think most people know who he is, of course, with lots of hits and so on. But these are a few albums that, out of his, I don't know how many, I think he's had 18 solo or regular albums. But these are 3 that I enjoy quite a bit and keep going back to and listening to all the time. And that's the key thing there, the music. So I'm going to go chronologically. The first album that I'm going to choose is Billy Joel's, I believe it's his 3rd album, which is Street Life Serenade.
Ooh, nice.
And this one, as you can probably see down the bottom there, it's a promo copy of it. Has this painting on it, cut corner on the top with the notch out kind of thing. And the back is Billy Joel with hair, where today you don't see him with hair, right? It's all gone, or he shaves it, whatever's left off. The thing about this picture here is I was reading that he just looks kind of, grumpy or whatever, but supposedly he had his wisdom teeth taken out 2 days before this photo session, so he may have been in pain still a little bit from that. So this album came out, first of all, in October 11, 1974. It wasn't a big hit for him yet. He hadn't reached that status. The album reached number 35 in the U.S. And I think Canada, Mark, I think it actually made it to 16, which is kind of surprising, according to what I'm reading. The other thing here is, I'm going to pull it out here. This is your normal, the white promos. Up here. The white promos. Get it right side up. There.
Very nice.
There we go. Yeah, so that white promos, usually this Columbia was a in red, the color red label. So that was it. So this had songs like the songs I really love, which is the title song, like Street Life Serenade, Serenader. Had songs like Los Angelinos. It has two actually instrumentals because they kind of had to turn around quick from the prior album, and he actually has two instrumentals, and actually they're very good. These instrumentals, and maybe actually that's three instrumentals. No, it's two. Root Beer Rag was one. He plays that in concert still, and then there's the Mexican Connection, which is another one. There's the single was The Entertainer, which is a very, very cool song. I don't know if anyone, if you've heard it, Mark, but it's a cool song. And what it is, it's about, he's kind of pissed off at the record company or the record business, and talking about how he had a single out, and they had to cut it down to 3:05, right? The time to 3:05, which is funny. And on the other thing I found out is, for that single, The Entertainer, the length of the song was actually 3:14, but they actually put the time on the actual label of the single as 3:05, even though it wasn't 3:05, it was 3:14. But it's nice. Part of the lyric, so it's kind of a interesting tidbit. So that's the first one, but as an addition, I'll show you the same album here, but this is a Friday Music repress, and it's on 180 vinyl, and it sounds good. And it's also, we've done this before, where the mastered by Joe Riagoso. I think we've heard that name again before. And it's more of the traditional red type kind of Columbia label they put on there. And this one was a gatefold, where the original, that wasn't a gatefold. And the gatefold, what they did, they put all the lyrics in there. Yeah. So 180 gram, nice copy. To me, if you like Elton John or some McCartney stuff, that kind of vein of music, you're gonna like that. This album is like, no one talks about or anything, but to me, it's a very well written, catchy music type album, and I love going back to it.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it's interesting because we're kind of starting the same way, because with my band that I'm going to pick, the first album that I'm going to talk about is also very overlooked as well. Now, before I show you my first record, let me tell you what band I'm going to be talking about. And that is a band that became extremely popular in the United States in the late 70s and early 80s, and I'm talking about Styx. Now, little background information about Styx. They were formed in 1972. They had 4 consecutive multi-platinum albums certified by the RIAA, meaning that they were multi-platinum records in America. Okay, they've had 16 top 40 singles in the United States. 8 of them were top 10, which is pretty impressive. They were originally signed to a label called Wooden Nickel Records and did 4 albums under that, which is Styx 1, Styx 2, The Serpent is Rising, which is a really good record, and Man of Miracles. Now, if you're collecting Styx records, the Wooden Nickel ones are the ones that you're going to really want to hunt down, because they did reissue them later under A&M, which is their A&M label that they were in later on. And they redid the covers and everything. They did like these really weird Art Deco covers for them. It's really odd. But if you want to get a collector kind of ones, you want to get the Wooden Nickel ones. And the funny thing is, the song that broke them in the United States was a song called Lady. Now, that song was off Styx 2, and it became a hit 2 years after it was released. And they have WLS in Chicago to thank for that, as they were the first radio station to play that song regularly. Okay, so let's bust out the first album that I'm going to talk about. And This to me is my favorite Styx record.
Okay.
Okay, and it is the most probably often overlooked one, and it is the debut record from their A&M signing. So it's not their first record. It is in fact their
First
fifth
A&M
studio album.
Press.
Right.
Okay.
And that is Equinox.
Okay.
As you see here, this is
Promotional
the
copy. Yes.
promo copy of it. Notice the bullet hole here as well.
Someone got me on shot to it. No, not really.
Now, a little bit of background on this. This record was released in 1975 on A&M Records on December 1st, 1975.
Okay.
It had two singles off of this. One was Lighted Up, and the other one is Lorelei, which I'm sure most people probably know off of this. And that hit number 27 on the charts. This album has the final appearance of John Kurolowski, the guitar player, and Tommy Shaw, who ended up joining afterwards and actually joined right before the start of this tour, came in very last minute, just pretty much before the tour started. So that was a pretty quick changeover. And me personally, I think this whole record is good, but to me the standout songs are Light Up, Lorelei, and the real standout of this record has got to be Sweet Madam Blue. Now, there's a song before this, which is called Prelude 12, which is basically a 12-string acoustic guitar part. That's maybe about a 1 minute or so that segues into Sweet Madam Blue, which is really, really well done. It's a fantastic piece, and it's probably the last thing that the exiting guitarist had credit for. Here's the inner sleeve with the band looking all nice and 70s with their robes and stuff.
Yep.
And on the other side here you have the lyrics for it. Also, you'll see here the vinyl itself, which, much like yours, is a white label.
Right. Nice. Yep.
Now, I'm trying to remember. There is some interesting dead wax info on these things on here. You do have the MR on here, which I believe is Monarch, is the pressing
Monarch
plant for this. And this record, incidentally, sounds really, really good. I mean, considering that it was the first record for them by A&M, they did actually do a good job on the production end of it. It was done at Paragon Recording Studios in Chicago, which has a special place in my heart because when I was in Pile Driver, we had mixed the comeback record at Paragon. And when we went in there, we saw nothing but all these gold and platinum records, all Styx stuff in that studio. We were like, wow. It was kind of interesting to see that. The album was done by Barry Mraz. He was the one who mixed it, and he did a really good job on it, I have to say. Now, interesting how you showed that you had a reissue of your Billy Idol record. What I was big on...
Did you say Billy Idol?
Sorry, Billy Joel. You're right. Billy Idol. What Styx were big on, and I guess what A&M Records were big on back in the day, was also doing colored vinyl. Now, what I'll show you here is I have about 5 copies of this record, the US, Canadian. I also have this one, which you'll see here is a gold vinyl version of it. And I'll show you the vinyl. This one came with its proper A&M sleeve. Ironically, back then they also had anti-static sleeves back then, believe it or not. And they also, it's funny because they hyped that quite a bit. If you look down here, there's a whole thing about protect your records, buy these kinds of sleeves. If you don't have them, write to us and we'll send you a whole bunch. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They were hyping it back then. Now, here's side one of it.
So this is a nice colored vinyl.
Yeah, they claim it's gold, but to me it looks more like yellow than it does gold.
Sure.
But
It looks gold. Kind of here.
it's it's good, and it's funny because even back at that time there was that stigma that colored vinyl doesn't sound good, la 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 la. But honestly, I think that whole theory is being flushed down the toilet. We all
Oh
know
yeah.
for a fact that color vinyl, in fact, can sound better than black vinyl because very rarely do they regrind color and reuse it again because it's such a specific color. You know
Yeah.
you can't. It's not. It doesn't make any sense to regrind it like you would black,
Hmm.
right? So this is a very good pressing of the record. Sounds fantastic. And funny enough, you can find these ones online on Discogs relatively cheap. Even the promo copy I got for under $10, which was really
That's great.
interesting. So, and it sounds fantastic. We all know the story with promo copies. Promos are the ones that got sent to radio to play, so of course they got to sound really good. This is also the time when Styx were kind of transitioning from being a bit more prog, hard
Progressive.
rockish,
Hmm.
to being a little bit more commercial rock, but still having their hard rock edge. I think
Yeah.
Dennis DeYoung was really the principal singer at this point. James Young did sing here and there a couple songs, but Dennis DeYoung was the main man of the band at the time. So there you go, Equinox. Amazing record. My favorite Styx record, and I would highly recommend it.
That's a good pick. I remember someone playing some of that for me. A friend of mine when I was young. He was into Styx, and I know he played a couple of those songs for me, and they're pretty darn good. But I think I had. I want to say the only album I had back then was Cornerstone. Um,
Mm.
but I may investigate it more now. That you're bringing it up, I always think about, yeah, I should really listen to those fully through, and then get a couple of those albums. So yeah, good pick. Cool. So my next pick is more familiar. It was the Breakthrough album. The prior album was, and the prior albums pretty much were the studio musicians that recorded with Billy Joel. But on this album, he has his touring band, and they're also recording. So they've been used to being playing together and the whole bit. And
Yeah.
this album is The Stranger, which was his breakthrough album. Had a number of hits on it. And I remember getting it. I think I bought the single first. I bought like Just the Way You Are, I think. But then I think I listened to more stuff. I heard more things like Only the Good Die Young. That was even better for me. I really enjoyed that song. And the thing about it is, also here, Phil Ramone he wanted George Martin of the Beatles fame to produce
Don't we
it,
all?
right? Yeah. Well, George was going to produce this album, but he wanted to pick his own session musicians.
Hmm.
So Billy Joel said, "No, no, I want this band to, And so he ended up going with Phil Ramone, who he had a long relationship producing a bunch of his albums. So and that worked out really well. This album, I guess some statistics about it. It went to number 2 in the United States. Also went to number 2 in Canada.
Mm.
I think it stuck at number 2 for 6 weeks or something like that. It didn't quite make it to number 1.
Oh.
Surprising. I don't know what was blocking it. I'll have to try to find out what other album. But it was September 29th of 77 when this one was released. Though I think didn't get it until probably the following, year.
Hmm.
When I started hearing, I think it started to break a little late. So this is a promo copy of it, and the same like the one before. It's a white label, and I don't know if I even should bring it out because it probably doesn't matter at this point. But this was again had songs like you may have heard "Moving Out," "The Stranger," of course, is the title song. Just the Way You Are, we know that. The key thing on this one was the epic song of Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. If you haven't heard that song, you need to listen to it. I don't care. Go out on YouTube, listen to it. Just listen to the whole. It's over 7 minutes long, and starts like slow, like any other you think Billy Joel song might do, and some of it's ballady stuff. But then it kicks in gear and it changes, and very cool stuff goes on. I'm just telling you, and it's very catchy. It's one of my favorite songs from his. Could be my favorite song of Billy Joel's actually. And She's Always a Woman was a big hit, right? Other songs on here like Vienna, great song, has that Italian feel, a sound to it. Get It Right the First Time is a great kind of rockin' tune. The whole album's good. I mean, I just can't, So I don't think I showed the back. Got the promo stamp, and they're with Phil Ramone. Actually, they're the guy holding Liberty DeVito. I think Phil Ramone. I think is this guy, and I think that is a true Italian restaurant they are in, from what Billy Joel has said before. But
looks very mobster.
Yeah. So this is the breakthrough album. It's the big one that got him on the charts, and people then knew who he was. Then the rest is, of course, history. So, but great album.
Great, and that's definitely something I will look into. I mean, me, as soon as I hear that something has a record that has something over 6 minutes long, I'm right away, ting, I'm going to be checking it out, right?
Over 7. Right.
Yeah, there you go. So even better. And it's funny that, again, like great minds are thinking alike here. You talking now about a breakthrough record for your artist. And now I'm going to be talking about a potential breakthrough. Well, actually, it is the breakthrough record for my artist. So if anybody has knowledge of my band that I'm talking about, you know what I'm going to be talking about next, and that is The Grand Illusion.
Oh, yes.
Now, I have only one copy of this, and ironically, it is a gold vinyl version of this.
Another gold.
Again. Yeah. There they are in their mystical forest, hiding from dragons and God knows what else in there.
Yeah, tigers, lions, bears, or whatever. Yeah.
And here's the inner sleeve, which this time, because the picture is on the back with the band, you just pretty much just have a set of lyrics on both sides. Now, a bit of info before I show the vinyl on this. This album is the 7th studio album by the band. Okay, let me do it how we did last time. It was released July 7th, 1977. It was recorded again at Paragon Studios in Chicago. This is, in fact, the album that launched them to superstardom. It had 2 hit singles off of it. One of them I know everybody and their grandmother will know, which is Come Sail Away. And the other one being Fooling Yourself, the Angry Young Man.
Yes.
Yes. This album sold 3 million copies in the U.S. alone. So it was a triple platinum record. The lyrics are a mix of sort of fantasy and contemporary American life sort of topics. The album hit number 6 on the charts. Come Sail Away was a number 8 hit single, and Fooling Yourself was number 29 on the charts. Now, we all know that Come Sail Away would go on to be played on radio ever since, and would even make a strong appearance on, South Park with Cartman's famous version of it that he did. Here's the gold vinyl. So, needless to say, once you're on shows like The Simpsons or, Family Guy or South Park, you've entered a whole new audience again, right, with the young generation. So, I'm willing to say that this album has surpassed 3 million copies easily because of that again. And for me, I've had this record in the house, or in a house where I've lived ever since I was young, because my oldest sister Jane had Styx records in her collection, so I've heard all these songs like since I was a young guy, right?
Right.
So I mean, there's all kinds of other great things on here. I mean, you have Miss America is on here. Like we said,
Yeah, Miss America. Yeah, I know that. I've heard that song too. Yeah.
That's a great song. And the opening song is actually one of the more classic examples of how you can make a progressive song into a commercial song, because there's so many elements of the prog stylings on the opener, which is the Grand Illusion, the song. But yet, it is trimmed down enough that it was played on radio quite a lot because it wasn't long.
Mm-hmm.
It was maybe 4 minutes, I believe. Let me double check that. I don't want to misquote myself. Yeah, 4 minutes and 36 seconds for that song.
Yeah.
And it had a lot of progressive stuff, all kinds of mini Moog stuff, all kinds of, interesting guitar parts, some great singing in there. And, when you listen to it, it could be easily played on, any kind of specialty prog radio show and still be played on every sort of FM radio that was across America, which probably helped in, those 3 million copies that it originally made when it came out.
Right.
And like I said, this is one of those albums that are in that series of 4 that they made, the 4 consecutive multi-platinum releases. In fact, it was 4 consecutive triple platinum albums that they released. This is one of them. So, again, people talk about what album should I recommend if you want to have an entry point into Styx. This is probably the one I would recommend, because there's enough catchy stuff on here. There's enough hits on here that people might already know about, and I think it would keep people's attention, especially the younger people whose attention span is about 5 seconds. So I think it would keep them enough to probably enjoy this record. So I highly recommend Grand Illusion. I think it's a great record. Again, it was mixed nicely. It sounds good. And the problem with gold vinyl is it's a bitch to look at the matrix info on that. You're trying to look at it. It's like, what the hell? I can't see anything on there. So I don't have any real tidbits of information on that to share. But I can say that from a recording perspective and mixing, it's fantastic. It has a great stereo spread when you listen to it on speakers. And it's really a good album on headphones to check out as well. So highly recommend Grand Illusion.
Nice. So I think I will check into it.
What is your thoughts on? Have you heard any of these?
I've heard. I've heard a lot of the songs here and there off of them. And like I said, I had a friend who was maybe trying to get me into them, and I just didn't take at the time because I was like, it was all Kiss or Rush and nothing else, kind of thing back then. Yeah. But I think I'm definitely going to check it out. I might even get that entry point, like you said, and pick that up, look for it, maybe Discogs or whatever. Maybe try to get that yellow vinyl. Now, the question of yellow vinyl, since those were both yellow vinyl, I don't know how often they did that, but are those considered first pressings of the actual album? Or was it a repress that they did a couple of them in yellow at the same time?
I think it was done. Yeah, I think it was done at the same time as the original. I think they did a whole, they did the obvious normal first release, but I think that they did these as a special run. You know what I mean? Kind of with it,
So did they did the prior album you showed me and this album at the same time? They pressed them at the same time. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, that's what I thought they might be doing with that.
Yeah.
Okay, because it would be kind of unique to actually do another one in yellow at a different time.
I could find out here in 1 second, because I do have an actual very good app here for just such a thing.
Oh, really? There's an app?
Yeah, I have my Discog on my phone, and I have my entire catalog on hand here, which is a really good app.
You can just
shuttle through it and find it. And I just go here, where's Styx? Styx is right here. Now I just find the album, which is right here. And according to information, it is a Canadian release, 1977. Blah, 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 blah. And it's supposed to come with a fold-out poster as well, which this does not have. Round black on gold sticker on front states special gold vinyl edition. Yeah, so it is not a separately timed thing.
Okay.
It was done at the same time.
Okay.
And mastered by Mike Reese, now that I have the information here. And it was mastered at the Mastering Lab, too.
Okay.
So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Well, cool.
All right.
That's another cool pick, man. All right, so I guess my last one, I'm gonna show, and I need to. I'm probably gonna get some of the other releases or 180 gram of Billy Joel, but this one is another favorite of mine coming up, and I didn't say about the prior one. I guess the prior one supposedly is up to like 10 times platinum, The Stranger, that prior album. Just to throw that out there.
Wow, okay.
As of, I think, early 2000s or something like that. I think they checked it. I wish everyone would keep their counts up to date, but I guess you have to pay for that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
So this album here, released October 13th, 1978, a year later after the other. The Stranger was 50. Let me see this here. Let me get this up right. There we go. 52nd Street. And this is a half-speed mastering copy.
Nice.
That came out. And it's supposed to, the quality of the sound should be a little bit better, I guess. That's why we get it, right? It's half speed. Everything is a little done slower, so it should be better. The other thing about this is here. I guess I'll pull out the regular label here. Again, produced by Phil Ramone. And here we go. That's the normal label, record label that they had out.
What's that little animal on the side there? I didn't get to
It's
see.
always been it's Family Productions. It's a part of some of Billy Joel's albums. They used to have a bigger.
Oh, okay.
It's like a. I don't know what it is. It has like a horn on it or something. I don't know. That's like a bear or something. I never figured out what that album that animal was. But this one had the lyrics actually on the back of the album, which is kind of cool. Sgt. Pepper's, right? I think the Beatles were the first to do that, and this is kind of similar in that fashion. Again, produced by Phil Ramone. This album went to #1. It didn't get stuck at 2. It went to #1. Also went to #1 in Canada. And this one was 7 times platinum now. To 7 times platinum. And people would know songs off of this one too. And it's a one that I go back to again and again. Produced again by Phil Ramone. And the same band, same members are still with him in the band. Songs like Big Shot. Everyone's heard Big Shot on the radio, and Honesty. They've heard that. They've heard My Life on the radio. It just goes on. There's a lot of other great songs on here, like Zanzibar, which I would call is very cool kind of rhythm to it, and also Stiletto. Stiletto is another one of my favorite songs. These are songs that were not hit singles, and songs like Rosalinda's Eyes, just a nice song. So again, it's another one I go back to, and it's very similar, I guess you could say, in style to the prior album, The Stranger. To a degree, they maybe add a few more horns and that sort of stuff on this album, here and there. which is kind of cool. And maybe that's why he's carrying like a trumpet or whatever there on the front.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just a kind of like, oh yeah, we're putting a little bit of horns on this album, but not over abundance of them, but they're there on certain songs. So
kind of gives me the vibe of jazz too, like the 52nd Street kind of jazz musician thing.
Yeah, and some of it is there. A song like maybe Zanzibar or whatever. It has a little jazzy playing in it too. It does actually. It does. If you listen to it, the solo is jazzy. So it's kind of cool. I don't know if I'm trying to look at the middle here for this, but since it's the half speed master, I don't know. I do have I don't have the promo copy of this one. I do have a regular copy, your standard copy of it too, but I need to look for a promo and maybe another new 180 release of it or a remaster or something. But that, again, is another one that I go back to. I mean, I have a bunch of his stuff, but these are the albums that, even though you've heard the hits a million times, there are other songs on there that to me are just as good or better, maybe because I'm not sick of them, or they're just well crafted songs. He was on his game during the the late 70s up to maybe early 80s. That was his best stuff. So that's the one I do recommend also.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because that's the one that I seem to see a lot in the record stores that I go to. I mean, you see 52nd Street all the time there.
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily the half speed one like you have there, but
it's a
version of it.
Yeah.
And now again, I mean, I have to smile through this whole thing because you just talked about probably the biggest record that he had in his catalog, and now I'm going to be talking about the biggest record that this band had in their catalog too. So first instinct, I'm sure that everybody has when they heard me just say that. Now that I'm going to talk about the biggest record of this collection, I know you're going to say he's going to be talking about Kilroy Was Here. No. We're going to be talking about Paradise Theater.
Mm-hmm.
This, in fact, is the best-selling Styx record.
Mm-hmm.
Not Kilroy Was Here.
Yeah.
Although Kilroy Was Here did have the biggest tour for it. I remember when it came across into Canada, they were no longer playing Maple Leaf Gardens and stuff like that. They were playing CNE Grandstand, which is like 60,000 people outside. They were not doing the indoor hockey arenas anymore. At that point, and I'm guessing this album had a lot to do with it, they were like at their absolute zenith at this point when this record came out. Now, as a record collector, I love this record and I hate this record for numerous reasons.
Yeah.
One of them is because I hate the way they laid this album out. It opens not like this.
Oh, one of those.
It opens like this.
Yeah. I have a few of those type of albums. Yeah. That's interesting, though. Lyrics, okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, lyrics in there. Some
it's
full
a nice,
sort
nice
of
inner sleeve. It's nice the inner gatefold.
and it has some kind of phony baloney news article there in the middle.
Okay.
I'll get to that in a minute. Now the reason why I hate this is because when you usually put them in your shelf like this,
Yes.
you have to do it because the spine is like that,
Exactly.
right? But then you pull it down, you're like, what the hell? The album comes all,
Yeah.
And that's the thing I really kind of despised about this sort of stuff. Now, let's get to the stuff that you want to know. And there's quite a bit about this record. So, once again, Paradise Theater.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 10th studio album by Styx, released January 19th, 1981. They have changed studios at this point. They are now recording out of Pumpkin Studios in Oak Lawn, Illinois for this. This is a concept record. Okay? This is a fictional account of Chicago's Paradise Theater used as a metaphor for America's changing times from the late 70s to the 80s. That is exactly quoted from Dennis DeYoung. This album had 4 singles off of it. 4. The Best of Times, which hit number 3. Too Much Time on My Hands, which was number 9, which is ironically Tommy Shaw's only top 10 hit with Styx. Nothing Ever Goes as Planned, which was sort of the single, which hit number 54 on the charts. And then you had Rockin' the Paradise, which was number 8 on the charts.
Oh wow!
Now this album is the only number 1 album for Styx that they ever released. This hit number 1 for them. Wow. But it is also the 4th consecutive triple platinum album in America for them. So if you think about it, if they only just stayed at those numbers, that would mean within 4 records they sold 12 albums in America. Okay, so those are crazy numbers, which explains the attendance, obviously, of their live concerts. Now, here's the vinyl. Now, there's a whole thing about this vinyl now, too. So, if I'm not mistaken, here's the label.
Custom label.
Flip her over. Custom label, yeah. Now, on side B here, and I don't think you're going to be able to notice it, I don't think. Well, maybe. See? On the top?
Oh, yeah. It's etched in there.
There's a laser etching.
Laser etching, yeah.
On there for this record.
Oh, that's cool.
Now,
that's a nice one.
It's really, really cool. Again, and I do sort of little minor things. I know it's totally nerd to talk about this, but again, I was mesmerized that they had these anti-static sleeves again. Hyping again. If you don't have these, send us $1, I think it said, or something ridiculous like that, and they would, send you a whole whack of these. Yeah.
Wow.
Receive an order form, write A&M sleeve, and they'll send you these ones to protect your A&M record collection.
So they went into the sleeve business, it seems like.
Yeah. Essentially, that's what happened. Now, another interesting thing of note here is that this album was mastered at Sterling Sound. It was mastered by Ted Jensen.
Oh, yeah, I've heard.
Okay.
Yeah, Ted Jensen.
Which is a big guy as well in here. And the Dead Wax has that all in there. SB03719, Euro 1, MP1, SF1, SM Sterling right on there. So there's an obvious direct contact there to the whole mastering side of stuff, and to the lacquering, obviously, of it as well. So that is a Canadian pressing of the record. Like I said, 1981. It is a gatefold, and it is B-side etched only. Like I said, my favorite record is still Equinox. This record is excellent from beginning to end. You can listen to it, no problem. I can at any day of the week. It does have a little bit of a dip in quality, I find, after a few songs, because it starts with AD 1928, which is basically like a piano version of Rockin' the Paradise, and it kicks into that. Then it goes into Too Much Time on My Hands, and then Nothing Ever Goes as Planned. So you have the singles right off the top. Then it ends with The Best of Times, right, on that side. And then you go flip onto side B, which has Lonely People, She Cares, which is kind of like, okay. Then you got Snowblind, which is the James Young song, which is pretty cool, much more rockin'. Then you have Halfpenny, Twopenny, which is another James Young song, not the best. But then you have AD 1958, which is sort of the same thing as the intro, but a reprise of it. And then you end off with the Stateside Sadie, which is like a little 27-second bit at the end. But it's a great record. I would recommend it too. Most people would probably argue with me that they would say maybe that would be the Start Here record. I disagree. I think Grand Illusion is much more catchier to me overall. And I was kind of juggling between showing this one last and actually Kilroy Was Here, mainly because of the nerd aspects of that record, because it was on Quiex
Oh,
vinyl.
Quiex, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and you put it up and it had that purple,
yeah, yeah.
translucency to it. So I kind of like that, but it is definitely a weaker album in every shape and form
Hmm.
than this is. So it
Yeah.
wouldn't be fair to the people who are watching this to put up a shittier record just for the sake of having purple vinyl,
Right,
right?
that's true. That's true.
So I definitely think that this is another strong record. In fact, you can't go wrong with any of them because this is again in that four of the triple platinum selling records.
Yeah, now I remembered when you were talking about these albums. I did remember that I did have the second Styx album back then. I had Pieces of Eight.
Oh,
Uh,
that's good. Yeah.
would you call that more of a rocking type album, or
Yeah,
than some of the other ones? Or
it's considered I think more AOR,
yeah,
like adult oriented rock kind
yeah,
of stuff, because there is a couple of ballads in there as well. Um, but honestly,
yeah.
I like it. I have two copies of it. That's honestly one of the rare records that I actually went ahead and bought the reissue of,
Mm-hmm.
as that record.
Oh, really?
I mean, the big songs on that is Pieces of Eight, Renegade,
Yeah, Renegade.
right? Blue Collar
Yeah, Blue
Man is a
Collar.
big song
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that too.
yeah.
So
I think that's
it's
what
a
I bought that one for. I want to say Blue Collar Man when it came out, but that's the reason I had bought it originally back then.
yeah,
But I don't
and
have it now. But I got to start listening to these Styx albums.
and it's good. I mean, all of those records were either done at like master disc or done at Sterling, so they were always sounding good. They
Yeah.
always sounded fantastic, and ironically, and I can't speak for some of the other records from Styx's catalog, but Pieces of Eight actually was one of the rare ones that had a Nautilus recording version of it. Now I don't know if you remember those kind of
Oh, okay.
uh,
Yeah.
where you had to get those special encoded receivers for those super disc vinyl
Oh,
versions
yeah.
of it that apparently sound like brilliant. Of course, I have a copy of it, but can't play because I don't have the decoding version of it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the device that you need to play it. But anyways, I'm getting off topic here a bit. Um, so those are my three, which are Equinox, Grand Illusion, Paradise Theater. Yours were I forget the name of the first
Street
one now.
Life Serenade,
Yeah,
The Stranger, and
The Stranger and
52nd
52nd
Street.
Street.
Yeah.
All of them fantastic records, all of them strong records, and all of them, funny enough, we didn't know what we were picking. This is funny, guys. Like, we didn't know what we were
No, we didn't.
picking the date. When we just started, we just realized what we had. And if you think about it, we pretty much have something in common with our picks. All of them were strong sellers. All of them had a certain transition to it. They had something that we both showed a record that was kind of overlooked,
Right.
then one that broke them, and then one that put them into the next stratosphere, which is ironic because we didn't plan it that way at all.
No,
So
we did.
another great melding of the minds there, So I'm glad that we did that. And any closing thoughts before we go?
No, I just find it, maybe it's like other people out there that don't know or not as clued in on certain types of music or artists out there, like me with Styx. Yeah, I know who they are. I've heard a lot of the hits and this and that, but it makes me want to go out there and give the artist a try, and hear some of the music that if you don't go out and check it out and listen to it, you may be overlooking some great stuff that's very please pleasureful or whatever you want to call it to your ear.
Yeah.
So I think this is just a great thing from my side of things. Just watching your albums, looking at your albums is very interesting for me.
And same thing with me, because I mean, while I am familiar, obviously, with Billy Joel, who isn't, And like I said, my sister had a lot of this material as well in her collection. But it makes you, like you said, rekindle your interest in these things, and makes you want to go out and grab it. And I mean, now in the day of vinyl becoming such a hot item again, now is a great time to grab these things because they're making reissues of them. Some of the reissues are like absolutely fantastic. Some of them are going back to original analog sources, so you can have some really great versions of it. So, go ahead and seek out these things if they interest you. So I think that we'll leave it at that. We will be doing a episode 5, obviously. It will be obviously in 2018, in the new year.
Yeah.
And I think we might go back to showing 3 random ones, but we will go back to this picking one artist bit again, maybe in a couple of episodes again, because I kind of like doing this as well. But I think it'd be fair to say that this will be it for us in 2017. We will come back to you in 2018. So I guess on my behalf, I'd like to wish Ken and his family and everybody who is watching a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'm sure Ken is the same with everybody out there. So until 2018, my friends, we will return with more vinyl discussions, and hopefully everybody on the East and West Coast will have a great holiday season. So until then, this is Ken Keenan and Mark Anthony Kay saying bye for now.